Hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, January 23rd, 2019. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brains. Now, it has been a holiday weekend. I have to admit that I am coming back from cold and snowy Boston to find myself in cold and muddy Illinois, and in the hours in between, I suffered from many a canceled flight and a delay, and I'm hoping that all of you managed to stay safe, stay warm, and not have the kind of jobs that forced you to go outside into this ever cold world. Now, there was at least a lot of pretty awesome science to gather around and read in the hours that, well, I at least wished I was trapped inside in my own house instead of being trapped inside at the airport. So to go to my favorite story of the past few days, we have updates on the now theoretical arguments back and forth for the hopeful future discovery of Planet 9. Last week, some of you may have heard news coming out of the University of Cambridge and the American University in Beirut that theoretical physicists and astronomers had done the maths and figured out you don't actually need, with the data set they were working from, a single object to explain the chaotic orbits that we see, or at least the asymmetric orbits that we see when we look at what's going on out in the Kuiper Belt. Now, in looking at this, they were drawing their data from one very specific research study, or in this case, observational survey of the Kuiper Belt. They were looking in one direction at one particular group of objects that had been discovered on top of these here. And what they theorized was you don't actually need to have, one single object. What they said was you can instead get away with having a whole set of objects out in this particular orbit. Now, Mike Brown was just like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and let us math the thing and show you are wrong. Now, what he did in a paper that came out in the Astronomical Journal was lay it down one tweet at a time. And I'm actually going to pull Twitter up. Hello, Twitter. Let's see if I can get Twitter over here to the side. And I will also see if I can embiggen Twitter, because Twitter, you're tiny. No, Twitter resists being embiggened. Here we go. This will work. So here we go with Mike Brown talking about the research that he and his collaborator, Konstantin Boygagan, have been doing to try and prove that Planet 9 has to be real. Statistically, it needs to be there. And so what they've done is they've systematically gone through and looked at the math behind different things. So here, Mike Brown, in this fabulous tweet thread from January 21st, goes on and says, first, Kuiper Belt objects with distant variocentric orbits are predominantly aligned in one direction. Okay, so we have that. We understand that. And he points out quite correctly that the Planet 9 hypothesis relies on the clustering and alignment and tilt of the distant objects to be real and not some statistical fluke or observational artifact. So now he's going to talk about some statistical work that they did. And I'm going to focus on this graphic, if I can get it to let me focus on the graphic. I'm having a moment of technology. So let's instead go to the actual Twitter page and see if the actual Twitter page will be less hateful. Okay, here we go. Actual Twitter page for Mike Brown. So what he's done is he's looked at what are the known orbital elongations that are being observed. And when you look at them and you sort out what is the center of this distribution, you get this point that strongly implies that this is not a random distribution of objects. If it was a random distribution of objects, you'd expect the epicenter of this group to be at the very center of this XY graph, and it's not. So the next thing he did was a simulation to figure out what if you do all the different possible combinations, what is the probability, given all the possible combinations, that you'd end up with a random distribution like this. And it's about a 4% possibility that given a random set of Kuiper belt objects, you can end up with our observed distribution. Okay, so 4%, that isn't great. It means that 4 out of every 100 times, 1 in 25 times, this just happens. Okay, so not good. So let's look, and there's more information than that. So here they look at what is the tilt of each system relative to the plane of the planets in our solar system. And when he looks at the tilt of all of these systems, again, it's not random. It's not centered on the center of our solar system. So here he worked out again, what is the probability given any random set of Kuiper belt objects that you're going to end up with this particular distribution. And here it was a 3.5%. Now, if these were uncoupled variables, you would just multiply the 4% by the 3.5%. That gives you the probability of this randomly occurring. But these are actually coupled variables. And when he runs the statistics for the coupled variables, they find that it is, and here he's quoting his research paper that came out. We calculate that the probability that these distant Kuiper belt objects would be clustered as strongly as we observe in both longitude and perihelion is only 0.2%. So that would be a 1 in 500 chance that quite randomly we ended up with the solar system that we see. Now, the results that we deal with all the time where people are trying to disprove what Constantine and Mike have done, where they're coming out and saying, look, you can explain all of this with just a cluster of objects. Well, here he quite correctly points out that there is this frequently mentioned result from the OSSOS KBO survey that people often say there is no actual clustering here. How could this also be true? And he points out that that survey is statistically incapable of confidently detecting what is seen when they look at a wider sample of KBOs. So this is just kind of cool. I strongly recommend all of you to, if you do nothing else, go read through Mike Brown's treatise that he wrote on Twitter about the reality of Planet 9, which he's still out there looking for, the need for there to be this single massive object in the outer solar system. And I think you will all be quite pleased. Now, to accompany this, in a week of the odd, there is actually a short story that has recently come up come out that is available for free this month for anyone who has a subscription over at audible.com. And this particular short story, and I'm looking to pull it up right now, is a really adorable YA story, so young adult fiction. And it's called Zero G by Dan Wells. And this particular short story is actually predicated on the existence of a planet out in the outer solar system that has pirates on it that try and steal the first ship to go out to the outer solar system. Now, while it says that it's for ages 8 to 10, I will admit I totally listened to it yesterday while I was flying, and it is sufficiently adorable that adults will enjoy it too. So go ahead, check out Dan Wells' Zero G. It will teach you a lot of cool stuff about the outer solar system. It includes Planet 9, which it gives a name to, in the story as one of the things that advances the plot. It talks about the actual observed Kuiper Belt cliff, where suddenly there is this edge to the observed Kuiper Belt. I love it when new fiction comes out that builds on new science. So in other news of the day, we have, and here I'm trying to figure out how to get to the window I need to get to, and that is not it. Okay, hold on. There's about to be a moment of ugliness on the screen as I click through. Let me switch views while I find it. Earlier today, Blue Origin was able to launch a rocket that was brought to you here on CosmoQuest X by our own Annie Wilson. And for those of you who, like me, were just like, yeah, I'm not going to get up this morning and you can't make me. First of all, oh my God, I'm so with you on that. Mornings. Why do they launch things in the morning? Well, they do it because it allows them to get to the orbit they want to get to. That doesn't mean we have to appreciate it. So this morning at an hour I did not appreciate, they launched a Blue Origin rocket. This was unmanned. It would have been capable of being manned or humaned. So here is the lift-off of Blue Origin NS-10. This is their cute little test craft. I just find this to be the cutest of all the little designs, even if it is a little bit not safe for work. And you can see the crew capsule sitting up at the front end of the rocket. And we're not going to watch the entire thing, but I will leave this up while we answer questions and such. As I said, this was adorable and successful earlier today. We are now at the point where we have both Blue Origin and SpaceX testing their manned launch vehicles, testing their capsules. They are pulling out ahead of Space Launch Systems in our new American-made race to get human beings back into low Earth orbit. And I'm simply deeply pleased. So that really concludes the news. It continues to be a slow time for news, with the government shutdown continuing to take place here in the United States. Here's where I'd ask all of you to check on the people around you. You never know who it is that might be getting affected. In addition to federal workers not getting their first paycheck of January, currently looking like they won't get their Friday paycheck either. We also have contractors who are going unpaid because they're unable to, well, complete work that the government needs. The people who provide flight tests for FAA employees, those test facilities are closed down as the FAA doesn't have the freedom to pay them to run the tests. We have all the people that work food services at all the places like the national parks. Those are contractors. So there's a whole lot of people out there that are running out of money for food, are running out of money to do things like, well, heat their house enough. And they're making choices where just inviting people over for dinner, inviting people over to use your internet, that can make a world of difference. So take care of one another out there. It's a hard time for a lot of people. And that's all I've got for today. This has been the Daily Space. I will now take your questions, but before I do that, I just want to remind everyone, the Daily Space is a production of the Planetary Science Institute. I will actually be bringing you the Daily Space live next week, except on Monday. I will be bringing it to you from Tucson, Arizona, where I will be visiting our Planetary Science Institute headquarters. We are brought to you in collaboration with Youngstown State University, where we have Annie Wilson. And I just have to thank all of you for your subs, your bits, your donations. The reason my team isn't suffering the way we might be is because you have already reached out and helped. And I hope that you will keep doing so that we can keep going into the future. So if you like what you see, make sure to give us a follow and find out whenever we go live, because we go live at the whimsy of the Rocket Landies launches, press conferences, and of course, we are here most Mondays through Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 6 p.m. London time, to bring you the Daily Space, your daily dose of all that is new in astronomy and space science. Now, if you can go ahead and @ me, this is so cute. So we have, here comes our little test capsule in for a test landing. All the kinds of adorbs. I'm still thinking I wouldn't want to be on one of those when it made one of those landings, given how much dust just went everywhere. But it's every possible kind of adorbs. Thank you, Ed Thompson. Thank you so much. It is so appreciated. I want more of this, please. More of this, please. Okay. So that was our highlights. Whoops, I pressed the wrong button, and that did not go as planned. So let's transition over to the correct screen. And I am going to go through and look for your questions. So Keeper of Maps is asking, that's the same kind of landing as a Soyuz. Yes, it is. That doesn't mean I want to fly on a Soyuz either. Now, admittedly, there is the problem that when you land in the ocean, you could drown. This is why I kind of like space planes. Not that we have any right now. So Paranor is asking, how was the trip to Boston? It was a really good trip. I saw old friends from high school, from after college, from the con circuit, and got a bunch of really cool new ideas, ways to improve my Patreon. Thank you, Keeper of Maps. Thank you. So there was a whole lot of good that came out of the trip, and sometimes it's just good to go home for a little while. I don't still have family in Boston, but it's still home. So yeah, that was good. Scrolling back to see what else might be in the chat. So Graham HW is saying, if you had to place a bet, would you say there is a Planet 9? Yes, I would. But I wouldn't. It's the kind of thing that I think I'd give 80-20 odds to, of 80% yes, 20% no. So I'd make a bet on that. Let's see what else. It's true, Noel. They don't need launch windows, but they do need like FAA flight clearance. They need everything to be in the places it needs to be. They don't need their orbital window, but they need the other stuff and things. Paranor, I did not know that Doctor Who was technically a kids show. It has some awful adult themes, but that may be a U.S. perspective. So, hey everyone. I'm loving seeing all of you say hello to each other in the chat. Yes, go Pats. They've gotten really good at winning. Okay. So that's all I see for questions right now. Um Other things to know about. My plan is to have the majority of the CosmoQuest website turned on today. If you were the winner of a physical item during our Hangout-a-thon, apologies that it hasn't been mailed yet. Last week we were snowed in and I needed to wait until I got a check before I could mail things. So I should be getting everything mailed out today to domestic people. I need to see how awful current customs forms are for people who are international. If I can get everything filled out at the post office, the international stuff will go out today. Otherwise, international stuff will wait till tomorrow and I'll get writer's cramp. But I'm so grateful, and everyone will get all the things given the fullness of my car and time. So thank you. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm just going to remind all of you that if you like this show, but you happen to miss any specific episode, go check them out over on YouTube. Everything ends up on YouTube later on in the day. We do add show notes with links to all of the stories that we cover. And go ahead and click subscribe while you're over at CosmoQuest on YouTube. That really does actually help us out. People do look, and that helps increase us in the search rankings. So really, even if you don't follow us over on YouTube, if you could subscribe to us on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it. YouTube subscriptions are like Twitch follows, and they're totally free. Anyways, that's all I've got. So I will be back tomorrow with all the science and all the goodness. And I will be emailing out all of our Patreon followers for CosmoQuest later today, giving you updates on everything that is going on. So if you want to know what's going on in your inbox, consider giving us a follow at patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. So that's it. I am going to run the credits. I'm going to look for someone that I can raid over to. So thank you for everything all of you do. And wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And remember to stay warm. And if you can stay warm and do so, go outside and look up. And the credits totally don't want to roll. So apparently I'm not going to roll the credits for you. I'm just going to raid somebody, and you're going to have to believe me that I am. Let me verbally credit. I will verbally credit. Oh, I have to log into Streamlabs. That appears to be the issue. Okay, let me try rolling the credits again. Awkward moment on stream. Awkward moment is awkward. Credits roll? Roll credits. Credits noped. Okay, I shall be the credits. I would like to thank for their cheers Keeper of Maps and Ed Thompson. We had no new follows and no new subs, but to all of you who are here, thank you for being here. And let's find someone to raid together. It's not going to suggest anyone to me, so I'm going to look over on Discord and see if there's anyone streaming on the Knowledge Fellowship. So there's us. There may be Kit Boga. Let me double check that one. And once I've double checked that one, I may Zoom Kit Boga. Kitboga is totally streaming, so we're going to raid Kitboga. Everyone, please give him a happy rocket launch hello and represent. I will see you all on the other side, wherever you are in the world. Have a fabulous morning, evening, afternoon. Stay warm, and if you can, go outside and look up. I'll see you all tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye-bye.